you need immediate help, please call the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP.
Bottle of wine, fruit of the vine. When you gonna let me get sober? Let me go home and start over.
Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio, brought to you in part by Jefferson University Hospitals and Thomas Jefferson University, providing excellent clinical and compassionate care in the Philadelphia region, a proven leader in healthcare and education since 1825. And now, here are your hosts, Gary Hendler and Mark Sigmund.
Hey, hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us, and welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. We're broadcasting right now live out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Clean and Sober Radio features real people with real stories about addiction to drugs and alcohol. Mark Sigmund, what do you have this week new on Recovery News?
So there's growing concern about the safety of consuming a supplement known as kratom, which is derived from the leaves of a tree native to Southeast Asia that has exploded in popularity in recent years. Used in a variety of products, including drinks, pills, powders, brewed tea leaves, kratom is marketed as an energy booster, relaxant, and pain reliever, but it's increasingly blamed for addiction, seizures, and in some instances, death. This is sold in gas stations.
So how does the FDA approve something like this?
They don't.
Oh, it's not approved.
This is over the counter. You know, it's sold in gas stations. And I got to tell you, there's some people that appear to use it legitimately for pain. But the issue with it is it is addictive like opioids. Okay. And it's perfectly legal. In some states, somebody 13 years old could go in and get this stuff. And I'll tell you, as an addictions counselor, I've been running into more and more people coming in with addictions to kratom. You know, a family in Washington is warning about the dangers of kratom. They talk about in 2022, they lost their son, Jordan McKibben, 37, after he reportedly mixed kratom with lemonade, according to his mother, who spoke to a popular local paper. So it's concerning. There's all kinds of stuff at these gas stations right now that are they're not regulated and being sold over the counter.
My conflict is, it's good we put this out. It's bad we put it out because now whoever is listening to the show or watching the show can say, hey, let me try this out.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking the same thing and whether to use it, you know, because there's that, you want to get the information out there. But like you said, we think like that, like, oh, you can get it at gas stations, right? But I guess where it's dangerous is if you get somebody that's in AA or NA that thinks this is this safe over-the-counter stuff that doesn't count as using, and next thing you know, they're hooked on it.
Well, we can, as you said, it is not safe, and it is addictive.
It's absolutely, and can lead to internal injuries, and a lot of it's impure. So people are getting, you know, I've had people that have run into organ injuries because they were doing large amounts of kratom.
Yeah. What else you got?
The next one is about a actual energy drink by a company called High Noon that has been recalled because they're saying that their Celsius energy drink may be filled with vodka seltzer.
It may be filled with vodka seltzer.
They put out a bunch of this stuff in 12 packs, had to do a recall, but it could still be floating around out there. The cans are labeled Celsius Astro Vibe Sparkling Blue Raz editions, were found in certain shipments of High Noon's Beach Variety 12 packs. Again, they're saying, you know, kids could be picking this up, et cetera. So keep your eyes open. That's another nightmare for somebody in recovery.
Where's it bottled?
Let me see here. That's a great question.
Is it in the United States?
I mean, it's in the United States.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, it's in the United States. And it doesn't say where it's bottled.
Okay.
But it could have been shipped to multiple states in late July.
All right. I guess the message is kids, don't use any of this stuff.
And people in recovery, if they all of a sudden they're like, maybe I'm getting a buzz from my seltzer water, they got to take a closer look at it.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. When we come back, one of our favorite guests, he is the Steve Martin of Saturday Night Live, because Seth Williams has been on this show more than any other guest, and when he comes back, everybody knows his story. He's an incredible guy, and don't go away.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
What's happening? Brandon Novak here from Those Movies Jacks, or author of that addiction memoir, Dream Seller. Do me a favor and tune into Clean and Sober Radio with Gary Hendler.
610-632-8601. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Welcome back to Clean and Sober Radio, and you can always enjoy this show on WWDB AM 860 in Philadelphia, WPEN 97.5 FM High Def 2 Philly, WGAC in Augusta, Georgia, WJBR 1010 Tampa, Florida, and you can actually listen to us anywhere on this planet.
Yes, and you can also check us out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Finally, our shows have been hitting YouTube. Wow. And you can also hook up to our podcast. It will be delivered to your inbox every week.
And today's show is going to be on YouTube.
It's going to be on YouTube.
It's a special show.
Yes,
Seth
it
Williams
will.
is here, man.
Yes, it will.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Seth Williams, former District Attorney of Philadelphia. Welcome to the show, brother.
Well, how are you?
Welcome.
It's always good to see you.
Good to see you, Gary. Good to see you, Mark.
Always
Good to see my friend Brad.
Oh, yeah, always. He actually can see us. We can't really see
Yeah,
him.
yes,
You know
yes.
what I mean? All right, let's look, unless you're living under a rock in Philadelphia, you really are incredible, man. You have you followed a path which most kids can't do. I think where you wanted, you did this, you got your law degree, you went in the district attorney's office, you did everything right, and then you were made district attorney of Philadelphia. You were the 46th district attorney and the first African American DA, not only in Philadelphia, but the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes, so I was the 24th.
24th. I'm
District
I'm
Attorney of
dyslexic.
Philadelphia.
All right,
That's okay.
I'm a dyslexic.
But I was the first African American to serve as a district attorney in not only the city of Philadelphia, but the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Right. And you have always been giving back to the community. I mean, when you were at Penn State, you were a big shot there. You rose, because you're smarts, but also your personality. You're an outgoing guy, and I think you know how to work a crowd. And all right, let's go back. Let's go back to your family,
Yes, sir.
your childhood. Tell us that whole story, because it's pretty interesting.
Well, I was given up for adoption at birth.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn that until I was 11. But I was given up for adoption at birth. I lived in an orphanage when they were still orphanages, and then foster care.
In Philadelphia, Seth?
Yes.
Okay.
The Pennsylvania Children's Aid Society, which was headquartered in Philadelphia. And God had a better plan for me, and I was fortunate to be adopted by a wonderful couple, Rufus and Imelda Williams. Mm-hmm. And my father was a school teacher. He came home every night and made sure I did my homework. We had dinner, then he took his nap, and he went to his second job, where he was in charge of a recreation center in Philadelphia, coaching basketball, playing ping pong with kids, chess, checkers, showing movies on Monday night, being a mentor to a lot of kids that didn't have father figures. And every summer he ran a day camp for Fairmount Park. Wow. So his entire life was committed to improving the quality of life for children and families in our neighborhood. And my mother was 4'11". So my father, he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't curse. But of course, after serving in World War II, he went down south and he married a young Creole girl who was 10 years younger than him that did all three of those things well and often. But my mom was 4'11". She was the executive secretary to Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. And she would joke and tell people that there was a new admiral or captain every 3 years. But she was always in charge. So it was just a great childhood, great family. But you're right. I always had leadership positions as a child, either class president in 5th grade, student council president, quarterback on the football team. I was the president of the Black Caucus at Penn State, the president of the student government, entire student government at Penn State as well. community programs. I was in charge of I was the head altar boy when I was 8th grade. But it wasn't out of some sort of Napoleonic desire to conquer. Just almost every night at dinner, my father would say, unless you're willing to be a part of the solution, you forfeit your right to complain. Right. So I just had that, plus this Catholic guilt, and I went to Quaker school, Friends Central, and I always felt that I had to do something to help people. And so that's where I always found myself. And it's very true, and there's an African proverb that we find ourselves through others. And I just found the greatest joy in my life actually while I was in prison and what I'm doing now. And that was when I found myself, as a DA, and I was a criminal defense attorney, as you know. I was an Army JAG officer for 19 years where I prosecuted people, I defended people. But it wasn't actually, and I had my own concepts of how to reduce recidivism, how to prevent crime. But it wasn't until I actually found myself in the belly of the beast and inside of prison as 759-26066. And
that wasn't your phone number.
That was not my phone number. It was not 8675309 for a good time call. No. 759-26066 was my Bureau of Prisons register number. And it wasn't until I was in prison and I was teaching GED, teaching workforce development, teaching classical poetry on Tuesday nights. I learned to play the saxophone. I became the beginner saxophone instructor and taught Bible study and taught spin class and, went to AA meetings and Celebrate Recovery and RDAP. It was through that process that I really found my call and what I'm supposed to be doing with my life.
Seth, did you think the fact that you were adopted, you found out at 11?
Yes.
I remember you told us a story. I don't even need to know this story. I need to know how you reacted to hearing that. And do you think that was part of the reason you wanted to be involved in so many different things and be good at everything, because maybe there was a feeling of being abandoned?
Well, I definitely, as a result of finding out when I was 11, I then, for the rest of my life, struggled with abandonment and rejection issues.
Yeah.
And so part of it, I was just worried that at any given time, I might be taken back. So that was a problem. Not that my parents ever said anything remotely close to that, but also I believed it really gnawed at me, almost, people use this word too frequently, but almost like a cancer, in that, why didn't those other people want me? Why wasn't I good enough? Mm-hmm. And I created in my own mind an entire narrative as to why I was given up for adoption, why this young white girl who was in college and who was impregnated by some African-American guy who was in college, what happened between them. And I knew that I had double pneumonia before I was 4 months old. So I assumed that these white people, this butterscotch baby was born and they didn't want him. And it was during the winter and he got sick and DHS took him away. That's what I created in my head. And really, as a result, my entire life, I began, and you were talking earlier about people that are in recovery, and, it was difficult for me. I never considered myself an alcoholic, right? Those are people who are like just stumbling around with living in a corner somewhere on the street, and then when I was in prison and I was with men who were meth addicts from Appalachia, who lost all their teeth. I couldn't imagine what they were doing, why they were doing meth. Or people that were using heroin. I couldn't imagine putting a needle in my skin, right? I don't want a medical professional doing it, let alone some druggie next to me that's using one and putting it in me. But what I had to come to learn was that all of us are struggling with trauma. Often it's not dealt with, that causes us to want to numb ourselves one way or the other to block out that pain. And how you choose, right? It could be heroin, it could be Jack Daniels, it could be meth, it could be overeating, right? It could be chocolate, it could be whatever. How we choose to numb ourselves might be completely different, but the underlying feelings are universal. And once I had that aha moment, that epiphany, it really changed my life.
If you're just joining us now, our guest today is Seth Williams. He was the District Attorney of Philadelphia. We'll get into the blip that happened during that period of time, but he is. You have excelled in everything. It seems like everything you've undertaken, you have excelled, and that's pretty amazing. And Mark and I talk about prison a lot because we're fascinated, and I'm a director of a prison.
Okay.
But the fact, and this is one thing that stands out to me about you, the fact that you did that time, we'll get into that, and you have come out not as I would have come out, incredibly bitter, is amazing to me.
Amen.
Really amazing.
And I say to God be all the glory, not me.
Let me ask you a question. Redemption.
Yes, sir.
How do you redeem yourself? How do you redeem yourself after you are perceived by some that you hurt them? Can you redeem yourself? Do you care if you can get redemption from other people? Because in the program, we can make amends, but it's the other person that they have the choice to accept it or not accept it.
Correct.
So redemption is do you care? I mean,
Well, part of it, and it goes back to the 12 steps in many ways,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Seeking validation from others is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking I need redemption from anyone other than my higher power is wrong. And that will continue to have me chasing my tail like my dog Charlie chases his tail. You're never going to get there. So I had to conclude and come to the realization that not only did I not need everyone else's approval, I needed to surrender all things to my higher power, to me and my faith base. It's God.
Yeah.
And that I needed his forgiveness. I needed to be sincerely apologetic for the sins that I had committed in my life, which are too many to list, right?
Not more than Mark or mine.
But it had nothing to do with the charges against
Yeah,
me, right? But
yeah.
just I had to come to grips with those things and then recognize that once I have asked God for forgiveness, he's given it to me. And I don't need to keep worrying and being sad about yesterday, right?
That's good and healthy.
Maya Angelou said, I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. It's always forward.
Are there any folks that you used to be close to that you're not close to now because of what happened? And would you like to be close to them again and can't?
Well, I've had to come to grips with many people that I thought were my friends, people who I gave jobs to, people that I wrote letters for their kids to get into college or you name it, right?
Yeah.
Gave me the Heisman, right? The trophy that's given to the greatest American college football player every year when he sticks out that arm.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, I'm radioactive. They don't want to touch me. And so that really hurt me in a lot of ways. Now, there are some people who I had to come to just accept. But then again, I don't know what was in their mind, right? The same things that we learn in 12-step programs and we learn through cognitive behavior therapy about doing rational self-analysis.
Yeah.
If I were to wonder and worry and spin out of control every day, why is it that Jeff or Sandy or this person, why did they do this to me? Or why did Marshall do this? Or why did this person or
You can destroy yourself.
So I'm going to be grateful that some person I didn't even know went out of their way to find out how to send me a letter when I was in prison.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thankful, right, that I had one friend who sent me $25 every month and put $50 in a gift card for the supermarket so my kids could eat. He did that every month while I was in prison. So instead of me worrying about this person doesn't forgive me or this person, I'm going to be thankful that I made a friend with Gary, and Gary has driven me to Harrisburg. Gary's come over to my house. Gary's taken me out to lunch. Let me be thankful for that.
Mark, he's talking about me, by the way, okay?
Well,
I just want you to know that.
I do, and I'm just listening to your story. I'm picturing, here, it's, DA of Philadelphia, all this. And then those first time going through those prison doors, and
Right.
as I understand, you were in solitary for a little while too.
For 5
What
months,
kind of-
152 days.
What kind of mind? Like, I always wonder, like going in, I think I'd be the guy crying in my bed, even though you can't because there's other prisoners
Right,
there. But
right.
like, what's your mindset going in there and just being like, I'm in prison now and I'm in solitary now? I mean, how did you get through that?
I always hated going into prisons, either as a young assistant district attorney, as a defense attorney, visiting clients in law school. I just hated the clang behind you. And most people think that in prison, everybody's in their own cell forever. In most prisons, it's like just random. People just doing whatever they want on the inside. And so, I was indicted. We went on trial because I should have reported every gift I ever got. That was my fault. Hubris, ignorance, who knows, just being stupid. But I negotiated with the city. I paid a $64,000 fine for not reporting gifts. But I got indicted by the feds anyway. Long story, we go on trial. We had a great week and a half. We had a bad day. The feds offered my attorneys for me to plead guilty to one of the 29 things they had charged me with. My attorneys were like, this is a great deal. We know all of this is BS. I said, me putting my hand on the Bible and saying I'm guilty is still wrong. They said, look, you got to take this deal. So I was told that I could remain on bail, right, until sentencing, maybe 5 months out, get my affairs in order, sell my house, take my daughters to therapy, all that. I told my daughters, my ex-wife, my then-girlfriend that I'll be home for lunch. We'll figure all this out.
You were taken into custody.
I go to court. I entered the plea. The judge revoked my bail immediately. I got handcuffed in court. Taken underground through the tunnel, strip search, given an orange jumpsuit, orange boxers, blue skippers, and put in my own cell for 152 days. And it was just all a complete blur. And I tell people, if it hadn't been for the fact that I've been in the Army and what our day was like, my first day at West Point, and then being in the Army and the training, and one day I lost everything. My reputation, my pension, my house, my law license, my liberty, time with my loved ones. And I learned when God was all I had, God was all I needed. And was hitting that rock bottom from which the phoenix rose.
Was it a blessing that you were sent to jail? And here's why I'm asking you. All the stuff happened, and let's say the deal was you got probation, whatever. Would you be the person you are today?
No. I don't give any credit to the Bureau of Prisons or any of their programming because it's complete garbage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We ate fruit that came in boxes that said not for human consumption. I give no credit to the Bureau of Prisons. I give all credit to God, to the Holy Spirit, to the other men that I met along the way, what I learned from them. And so I came to learn to see people as truly three-dimensional people. I'm still in touch with one of the guys that was in solitary with me. His name was White Mike. He was awaiting trial for being a hired hitman, paid to kill 2 people. But all of our conversations were just about us missing our kids. Yeah. He was trying to blend a family. I had gone through the same thing. And we were just talking. And he had tattoos over his entire body, looked like Eminem. Tattoos over his eyelids that said, "Don't sleep." We still email each other all the time now. So I began to see people not as the guy in the 3-piece suit or the guy over there in the gutter, right?
Yeah.
But to truly see people as they are and to try to pray every day for God to allow me to reflect him to everyone and for him to allow me to see him in everyone.
Okay. If you're just joining us now, everybody, we're speaking with former District Attorney Seth Williams. I hesitate to keep saying former District Attorney because your life is so much more than District Attorney now, but that's the baseline.
Crazy story was that.
Well, can we get to that when we come back?
Sure.
Hold on. So
I'm like Don Rickles here. I've been on so many times.
Yeah. He's too comfortable here. So if you're just listening, you want to watch us, go to Facebook, go to our Facebook page, Clean and Sober Radio, and you can watch us do the show like these folks. Judge Christopher Maddox, Mike Burke, Let me see who else. Mike Burks from Media, Pennsylvania. Chris Maddox, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
I know Chris Maddox.
Yeah, Judge Maddox.
Yeah.
Great guy.
He's a good American.
He's a good American.
Yeah.
And so are you. We'll be right back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hi, this is Dion, the Wanderer. Listen to Clean and Sober Radio. You might hear something that'll change your life. Yo!
610-632-8601. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
And we are back with Seth Williams, former district attorney of Philadelphia, but so much more. Seth, what were you talking about before we went to the break? I can't even remember.
Yeah, we're all so much more than just one thing. We have to. I teach classes in state prison now, where half the guys in my class are serving life sentences.
Yeah.
One of the guys on death row. But we're all more than just our worst thing.
Yes.
Or just one specific thing. It's like Pablo Picasso's cubism is that, you're looking at it, it's like a nose looks this big from one angle, and from this angle, it's a tiny ear. It's the same person. So the very first day, when I was in prison, I was in solitary. And just no one to talk to, nothing to do, no emails, one phone call a month, just writing letters to people. Stacy put some money on as my girlfriend then, she put money on my books, and I was able to get a radio after being in prison for like a month. Radio comes. The very first day I go to listen, I'm going to listen to Steve Harvey in the morning, listen to some jokes, comedy, just to get my mind off of the horrific state of my life. Very first thing, they cut to local news, and they said, in Philadelphia today, the Board of Judges will be meeting to select the replacement for disgraced former District Attorney Seth Williams.
Oh, my God.
I wanted to throw the radio against the wall. I was like, why this is the first thing I got to hear? I was upset. But again, I've been so much more, right? Saxophone instructor, spin teacher,
but listen, Mark,
dog walker.
Listen.
I worked at Lowe's overnight. I've done a million things. I delivered pizzas.
I want to ask you about Lowe's, okay? You come out.
I come out of prison. Nobody would hire me.
Right,
I know the governor, Shapiro, the mayor, everybody's on speed dial.
Yeah.
But everybody's giving me the Heisman. I can't get hired anywhere. The probation says you got to have a job in 2 weeks, or we're going to send you back to prison.
Let me ask you something.
I got a job at Lowe's working from 7 p.m. until 5:30 unloading trucks.
When you walked into Lowe's the first day,
with an ankle monitor on my left foot.
Did you say to yourself, what the hell happened here? What happened? I mean, there must have been a moment where...
But see, if I had done that, I'd just continue to spiral. Right? I learned along the way, right, that it's not about me. Right? God had me where he wanted me to be at every step of my life. Right? If I hadn't been in prison, this one guy, Bright Agato, would have committed suicide. He claimed that he didn't commit suicide because I was there. He saw me. Right? 19 guys got their GED because of me. Right? So I had to come to realize that my life wasn't just like Job. Everybody's telling me, read the book of Job in the Old Testament, right? Your tribe reads the Old Testament, right, Gary? Right?
I guess.
It was more like Joseph from Genesis. His brothers were jealous. They tried to sell him they were going to throw him in a pit for him to die. They were going to sell him into slavery. Joseph became the best slave, right?
Yeah.
Then the guy's wife, Potiphar's wife, wanted to say he raped her. He gets sent to prison on bogus charges. He becomes the best inmate, right? So my point is, wherever I am, right, if I'm going to be at Lowe's, I'm going to be the best stock boy I can be.
See, that's incredible.
And what's going to happen is I'm there, but something's happening that day. And if that day, you remember the TV show Kung Fu? Sure. That guy just walking the earth with a little stick and a bag with all his belongings and going from village to village, being used by God however God needed him that day in that village. So, I mean, all of us have our role to play. And I just say every morning I wake up, God, I don't know what's going to happen today. use me as you see fit.
Okay, so that's
May your will be done. That's what we pray when I pray the Our Father.
yeah.
Right?
So that's an incredible story. Now, I'm sure there's people listening going, "No, come on, man." Here's the question: if you had a crystal ball and you had the choice, would you have been indicted and gone to prison, or would you have just kept going with whatever you were doing?
There was no way I would have chosen to be prosecuted, to lose everything, to have my daughters be traumatized and go through the grief and the shame. They went from being like little princesses in the city in daddy's Chevy Tahoe SUV with the police and going to red carpet events to being pariah, right? Yeah. It's much different. You know, people who make the decision to sell drugs on a corner, they're people that they're working with. There's an understanding. Well, if you go to prison, you understand what's going to happen, right? If you watch The Godfather, you watch The Sopranos, when a captain or a street soldier goes to prison, Tony would still go by and make sure the family was okay, giving them money, right? Yeah. White-collar criminals, all of your friends, like people don't want you sitting next to them at the synagogue anymore, right? They don't want you coming. The day after I was indicted, every organization I was a member of asked me to resign. I would have been the next president of the Pennsylvania District Attorney's Association.
I think you would have been governor, but whatever.
Well, you know, all of that is, you know, part of maybe the motivation of other people. But again, I can't go back and change the what ifs, right? Because for a long time while I was in prison, I couldn't sleep. So the guy in the cell next to me was like, yo, when they come by, tell them you can't sleep. They'll give you meds. I said, I never took a sleeping pill. Oh, man, do it. And if you don't want them, just slip them to me, right?
Yeah, there's that.
So then I started taking them. Then I was groggy all day. I was like, man, I'm groggy all day. I can't even think straight. He said, oh, yeah, that's what it's like on the street. So you got to take some pick-me-ups. You just eat a lot of coffee. That's all you can get in here. I was like, so you're telling me I'm going to take depressants so I can sleep because I can't deal with all these troubles in my head, and then I'm going to take uppers so I can stay awake. And it's a crazy cycle.
Did you have a problem before you went to prison?
I said, I'm not. So I never thought I did, right? But I think everybody at Penn State when I was there in the 80s was a functioning alcoholic. I mean, that's all you did, right? Yeah. But my bigger issue, when I came to understand through RDAP and through self-analysis and observation, was that my maladaptive schema, right? If there was an event, I would often jump to conclusions and assumptions that were irrational. And my way of dealing with feelings that might have been irrational about abandonment or rejection, right? If my ex-wife or girlfriend minimized me, right, or yelled at me, or in whatever way I thought were abandoning me or rejecting me, I said, oh, okay, I'm just going to text this one. I'm going to text this other woman. Yeah. Just in that split second, the chemicals, right, the endorphins would go all over my brain, washing over my brain. I felt great in that split second. And if, say, she said, come meet me at my house tonight at 7, well, by 6 o'clock, I didn't want to go. I felt guilty. No, I can't do that. I'm going to risk losing everything. Then I start feeling guilty. Well, if I don't go, then she's going to be mad. So I got to go. And then, because I felt bad and guilty, then I got to have a drink because I feel guilty. That is a maladaptive schema, right? And different people choose different ways to numb themselves or deal with that maladaptive schema. So no, I don't think I was an alcoholic. Then there were times, clearly, where I drank excessively because I was nervous. As the DA, I didn't think I could talk to anybody about my issues. I couldn't trust anybody, I thought, so I talk to my friends now who are elected officials or leaders. I have a great friend who's the police commissioner. I talk to them. I'm like, hey, I don't care about nothing about you. How are you doing? How are you dealing with the stress that you have and the issues? Let's talk about how to deal with those things in a healthy way. And so that's what I try to do with my friends, you know? Yeah. And so I had to learn that, you know, it wasn't that I was an alcoholic, but I made bad decisions often and drank. More of my bad decisions were in trying to feel wanted by someone, some woman, somebody make me feel like I don't need that now. I know that God wants me, God loves me, that's enough.
So you say you're in recovery.
Yes.
You're in recovery from a lot of things.
Right.
Okay. So
We all are.
We all
Just some of
are.
us know what we're battling. Some people don't.
That's right. So when did you decide that you needed a program to deal with the demons of addiction?
Well, one time I went to the movies with my ex-wife, and she saw on my cell phone that some other woman was texting me. So I said, oh, I'm a sex addict. I'll go to a Sex Addicts Anonymous meeting. And I went there, and the stories that the people were saying sounded so bizarre to me, I never went back. Okay? So I never really decided that I needed a program until I was in prison, and I learned from a guy in a cell next to me that they had this program called RDAP, and if I was able to convince them that I needed help, and they almost accept everybody because they get money for people to graduate from it, if I could go through this program, I get a year off. So I was like, okay. And so I got in. I was accepted into the program. I was in a residential therapeutic community for 13 months. And through that, even though the class was primarily created for people with like a 6th grade education, but there were those of us that were doctors and lawyers and pharmacists that were in it. I learned so much from the concepts. I learned so much from being in spiritual programs. 40% of all people who get released from prison get rearrested in 1 year. 64% get rearrested in 3 years. 70% get rearrested in 5 years. 80% in 8 years. The 3 things that have the greatest impact on reducing recidivism are, 1, GED, getting an education, vocational training. 2, being in a therapeutic community to address substance abuse behavioral disorders, getting cognitive behavior therapy, rational self-analysis to deal with whatever our demons are. And blows my mind. There's only a 14% recidivism rate for people that spend a minimum of 1 hour a week in spiritual formation. That could be praying to baby Jesus, grown man Jesus, Moses of the Old Testament, Allah, a wicked, whoever. But spiritual formation, those 3 things, what they have in common is changing the hearts and minds of people to change their behavior.
Seth Williams is our guest today, everybody. If you want to speak with him, this is your opportunity. Give us a call on our newest studio hotline at 610-632-8601. And, you're like the poster child for we do get better. We do get into recovery. We can do great things after a little blip. When I say a little blip, I'm not.
And great
minimizing
things as defined by God or our higher
it's
power,
not
defined by
money.
the next door neighbor or the Joneses.
Right. Great things, doing the right thing, helping people. That's really the whole deal,
That's our rent while we're here on earth.
Absolutely. So what's up, Mark?
Well, I got a question for you, and that is like,
You can ask too.
what, like when you look back as district attorney, which by the way, I was a young guy and I remember, very young, and I remember seeing you on the news. I remember all this stuff. What prosecution are you the most proud of? In other words, the prosecution where you brought attention to this matter as DA.
I bet I know.
What might that be, Gary?
It would be who is the West Philly doctor?
Dr. Kermit Gosnell was running an illegal pill mill that we were doing an investigation. That led to us finding about this illegal abortion clinic, which ultimately led to better laws to govern the healthy environment and sanitary nature of abortion clinics, places that were providing this type of medical care. Also, I was the first district attorney in American history to prosecute the hierarchy of the Catholic Church for shielding pedophile priests. And there's no coincidence that 5 of the charges against me were related to my mother living in a nursing home owned by the Philadelphia Archdiocese, who at the time, Archbishop Chaput was on the warpath with me and told my pastor, Monsignor Brito, not to give me communion anymore. Wish my pastor continued to give me communion, but just the fact of it all. So I was proud of those, but really it's not just one case. I just enjoyed every day in Philadelphia, people are having their cars stolen. A minivan with a kid's favorite DVD and Cookie Monster doll that they need to sleep is in their car being stolen. People are having their homes broken into. Every day about 4 Philadelphians are going to be shot. One of them will probably die. people are being raped every day. I really enjoyed the opportunity to try to serve those people, to get to know them, to show them some form of humanity, maybe, in a system that is far too inhumane.
Yeah, you really spend your life helping the community, giving back. I guess it's at those dinners with your parents and your dad showing you the right way. I mean, doesn't it all begin in the house? And if you're lucky to have two parents,
That's right.
or even maybe one, that's great.
I had great grandparents. I had wonderful grandparents and a network of uncles and aunties. So I was just blessed. I had good role models. I can't take any credit for it.
Yes,
period.
you can.
No.
Yes, you can. All right, we had a couple emails this week. Let me
Uh-oh.
here we go.
Hot off the press.
Here, hot off the press. Sherry K. from Levittown, Pennsylvania. For our listeners who are not around here, that's outside of Philadelphia. I've listened to your show for years and wondering why we don't know more about the two of you beyond addiction. It would be helpful to understand how you became addicts.
Oh, gosh, that's a whole show right there, isn't it?
Gary was making a lot of money as a young man, and it just got to him.
That's a whole show.
That is a whole show.
That's a
man.
whole show
But
right
that would
there.
be, I mean,
We could do a whole show on that
we could
one,
do that
you
as
know,
long
but-
as the statute of limitations, and Seth would have
Yes.
to tell us if it's over with.
And I've thought many times, because Gary's told these stories of like throwing eggs off that big building over there and hitting people, and I've thought many times, when we go out, do we need to wear a bulletproof vest, after the show? So.
Bob N. from Talladega, Alabama.
Wow.
All right.
Great movie.
Well, yeah.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah, they have horse races. They have car races here. Why don't you talk about other addictions, sex, food, gambling?
I just did.
Okay, Seth just did, but there's enough going on in the drug and alcohol world to talk about. Others can pick up the slack, but that's a good question.
Yeah, it is. And like we've talked about, this cross addiction, as a therapist, I see it all the time, where there's these underlying addictions that are connected to the main addiction.
Right.
And usually gambling, sex, overeating. But yeah, you're right. We have so much to talk about in just the drug and alcohol field, but it would be an interesting show sometime.
This one's directed at you, actually.
Oh, great.
Do you think that someone can use either booze or dope for the rest of their lives without consequences?
No.
I don't. And, this is so tricky, and I'd like to bring this up, especially for females. Females have their livers are not as strong as males for some reason, and they're more susceptible for liver injury. So I use this as an example of a female could be drinking 3-4 times a week, and then when they're 55, next thing you know, they're going into liver failure. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's all these sneaky ways, cancer rates, the whole bit. There's going to be consequences. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And not only just physical. There could be legal. There'll be legal consequences.
Yeah. And just, I have this one video I show about all the ways it affects your body. And one of the studies are really coming out saying that it's a carcinogenic. So who's to say that cancer that showed up wasn't because of drinking all those years? So
I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I must have taken, I'm not kidding you, 4,000 or 5,000 Quaaludes. I think it had to do some damage in my body that I am now experiencing.
absolutely.
Seth, do you agree with that? Seriously. You can't get away from all that, right?
I was pre-med before I was pre-law
Yeah.
for about 2 weeks. I would probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as an attorney, you're a doctor.
Go out
so.
there on a limb, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Yeah.
I was wondering why you're twitching over there
Now,
like
did
that.
he
Your
say-
eyes are blinking.
Did he say 5,000? I'm thinking like 500,000.
No, come
on. He owned
No, but
a
what's not,
Quaalude clinic.
it's funny and it's not funny, but today, the drugs are laced with fentanyl and things that you take one thing, not the 5,000, one thing could kill you.
That's exactly
And so
right.
that's why, it just doesn't make, it's not worth it, for a lot of reasons, but because of, what's on the street now.
Wasn't like when we were coming up, and not at all. We got to take another break.
All right.
And guess what? We will be back with Seth Williams when we come back.
Sounds good.
For sure.
Let's hear from our sponsors.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey everybody, this is former Philadelphia Flyer Chris Terrian, and you're listening to Clean and Sober Radio.
610-632-8601. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
We're back, and welcome back to Clean and Sober Radio. Hope everybody's enjoying the show. So, Seth, what's going on in your life now, man? Tell us all the things that you're doing.
You know, other than having my hip replaced 2 years ago, I'm living my best life.
Oh, you did your hip replaced, huh?
It's funny. The irony is all the things that I was doing to stay healthy, Broad Street runs, kickboxing, jumping up on
Catches up.
burpees, wore my right hip out. But anyway.
That is the commercial for not exercising.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So I created, as a result of teaching GED in prison, workforce development, teaching poetry, learning to play the saxophone, becoming the saxophone instructor, teaching Bible study, and just, the greatest things I learned was the majority of the men that I taught and lived with, were incredibly intelligent. They'd gone to jail and not Yale. They'd gone to the state pen and not Penn State, but they were very smart. Most of them were great businessmen. Just their product is what brought them into trouble. But the greater epiphany was that most of them never had problems getting jobs. They always had some legitimate job in addition to whatever their side hustle was. They had problems keeping jobs.
Yeah.
So I thought I could do a better job to prevent crime and to reduce recidivism by helping men and women that are returning from prison or just chronically unemployed people learn the skills to not only get jobs, but to keep them and to thrive. By applying a lot of the skills that I learned as an Army officer and skills that I learned in RDAP in federal prison. So I created in December of 2023 classes that I teach inside the Philadelphia Department of Prisons.
Can I interrupt you? RDAP, can you just, I should have asked you, what does that stand for?
So in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, it stands for the Residential Drug Abuse Program.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
And that's for people with substance abuse issues, but also gambling anonymous type folks,
Okay,
or
RDAP.
sex and love addicts anonymous. But generally, there's a underlying abuse of some form of alcohol that most of them, then other things happen. So I teach these classes. One is called Career Keepers, and the other is called Prison Poets. And I love them. I teach them in the city of Philadelphia, in the prisons, to men and women that are incarcerated, trying to teach them the skills they need, public speaking, how to take constructive criticism. I teach them conflict de-escalation skills and strategies, financial literacy. All of my students in the city are those that are also co-enrolled in the city's options program, which is the local version of RDAP.
Are these inmates eligible to be released at some time soon? Because
yes.
If they're not, people might be saying, what's the point?
Well, the point is 95% of all people who go to prison are going to come home. And we want them to come home better, period.
Okay.
Right? But even if they're going to be in prison their entire life, that you can find meaning in that.
Yeah.
And we want them to be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Right? But most of my students are co-enrolled in a substance abuse disorder treatment program called Options. And so my program, again, we have a creed that we start with in every class. Behind us are the challenges we met. Before us are new possibilities. Today we choose the direction of our lives. Right? We often will do the serenity prayer. I teach them, again, how to do rational self-analysis, which was what I had to learn while I was in RDAP. We talk about the 12 steps, the 3 A's, the 5 stages of change. So all of these things in the class that are directly related to what you do, right, Mark? What you do professionally, but to help people learn how to break their own maladaptive schema, whatever that is, and to how to live a healthier life. And I think, Again, I used to tell people, they said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Thinking I wanted to be the mayor or the governor. And I did. I wanted to be the mayor or the governor. But I used to say, if I gave it some really thought, I would say, I really want to be more like my dad. My dad, despite me being the district attorney, I know he did much more than I'll ever do to prevent crime and to reduce recidivism as a school teacher, basketball coach, running the rec center, baseball coach. If I had to do it all over again, I'd be a high school history teacher. And I would coach football in the fall, basketball in the winter, track in the spring maybe, or I would have been a priest.
Well, you are an educator. And I'll tell you something. I was just thinking as you were speaking, you have such credibility. It's not like you're some guy who's a Harvard graduate who's never experienced any lows in their life.
He's wearing my Harvard tie.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
if he went to Harvard.
Yeah. So you got the credibility with these people. They can hear you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
You're an
still,
educator.
I'm doing this in the city as a volunteer.
Yeah.
Nobody really
Yeah.
wants to pay me much to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm still radioactive to a lot of people. So
Any thoughts of ever getting back into like politics, or is that a kind of a
I do things in the community to help people in my neighborhood, right? But it's not about me. It's not about me having to tweet all day. Look at me. Look at me. Look at all the great things No, it's not. That's not how I look at things anymore.
When you get your law degree back,
Yes.
will you use that degree legally to, in some way, to help people?
I would love if I got my law degree back, my law license. I have my law degree.
Yeah, I
They
mean
can't
your
take
law
that
license.
away, right?
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
that in 1992
Yeah.
at Georgetown, May the 25th. I would, yes, like to be able to.
All right, go
I
ahead.
would like to help people expunge their records.
Yeah.
Help people with issues that they're facing in a way, but just even to refer people to other attorneys, and because I have a lot. I try to help a lot of my students. But I tell them I can't give you legal advice, but I do write letters to their judges on how they're making progress in my class. I would like to be able to help those people in a lot of ways.
So that's,
And I teach a Christian discipleship class every Tuesday night at SCI Phoenix. And it's just a remarkable class. And again, I probably learn more from my students who are serving life than I could possibly teach them. So I'm just very thankful for the opportunities that I have.
Yeah, you have a lot of opportunities that have opened up for you.
Amen. I got some ribs on my smoker right now, my Traeger.
Nice.
And when I get it's there all day for 6 hours, and I get home, woo!
Yeah, did you hear him invite us? I didn't hear that.
I'm hearing the life. I'm hearing he's driving a nice. He's got a convertible
Yeah.
now. He put the
deserves
convertible
it.
down. He's got
It's a
ribs on the
2008 though,
smoker.
right? So
It's great.
How old is
though.
that? 17 years old.
Yeah, and just a nice girlfriend, the whole thing, living life.
Yeah, you did a good job. You know
Amen.
that? You did a good job. Okay. We're talking 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, it's just like my friends who are believers in the Old Testament, right? When they go to their Seder for Passover, talk about if God had only done that, it would have been enough, right? Netanyahu, how do you say that prayer? And I'm just so thankful, right? If God had never done all these other things, it would have been enough. But I've been blessed in so many ways.
Yes, you
I'm very
have.
thankful.
And you're taking advantage of it in a really positive
But
way.
the best way, I think, really, God comforts us, not so that we can be comfortable, but so that we can comfort others. So I just try to use what happened to me to help other folks now that are in similar situations.
What are you doing this weekend?
I am actually going fishing tomorrow.
You gonna be in Brigantine?
No, I'm actually going out. I'm trying to remember the name of the fundraiser, but it's a fundraiser for addiction, and it's somebody at my work who lost her brother. And it's going out on a party boat tomorrow. I think it's Waves for something.
Be careful, man.
Sharks,
No,
right?
I'm talking about the party boat.
The party boat. What about it?
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. We got 1 minute. Okay. Hey, Seth, thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
coming by, buddy.
Well,
Always.
hopefully the next time I come,
Always.
I'll talk about my book.
Okay.
My first book will be coming out shortly, A Man of Convictions. And any of your listeners that want to follow me, they can follow me on X, or formerly known as Twitter, at New Seth Williams.
You want to give your cell phone number, your social security number?
They can email me at seth@secondchancestrategies.net.
Say it again, just so they...
seth@secondchancestrategies.net.
Thanks, brother. Hey, remember, if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, help is available. Please call 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP. For Clean and Sober Radio, I'm Gary Hendler.
Mark Sigmund.
I'm sorry if I woke you.
I am so sorry.
And thanks for joining us,
Seth
and
Williams.
thanks for all your support. Have a great weekend.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves. I hope we pass the auditioning.
Hey, everybody, thanks for all the support you give us. Have a great week and a great week, and we'll catch you later.